Cole Spence leads what's possibly Vanderbilt offense's most important position. They're the key to success, maybe even a secret weapon. Talking about the tight ends.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen. On today's show, we're going to talk a little basketball portal. The transfer portal is opening up. There's some action already happening. And with Tyler Tanner still making his decision, how is that going to impact things for Mark Byington and crew? And, of course, over the course of time, we're going to go over names, things like that, portal rumors, portal signings, all that good stuff. So we're gonna breach a little bit of basketball here. But in the realm of football, there's some young defensive linemen taking aim. They're making a big push, pun intended, slightly, on the defensive line. Again, the defense is just balling out. I mean, I know the offense had a great day in the first scrimmage, but the defense has been balling out all camp. There's some young defensive linemen that could make some noise, that could be some down the road, down the line sleepers that you may not expect to make a massive impact, but could for the Vanderbilt defense. Vandy's going to lean on the run game. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Cedric and MK are going to lead that group, and the group that's going to help drive that whole thing is the tight end room. It's led by Cole Spence. This is where we're going to start. It's led by Cole Spence. They have some playmakers. It's unsettled as far as who's going to be doing what, when, and how. But again, it's a very talented room. It's a very unique room, and it's a room that has a lot of promise for the future as well. So it's an exciting room, and it's, like I said, in Tim Beck's scheme, it is the key to offensive success. So that's just kind of where the vital part of it is. And for a young quarterback, an inexperienced quarterback, a new starter, that's going to be an important position to kind of lean on, as we'll say presumably Jared Curtis. But Blaze Berlowitz had a nice scrimmage too, and there's some talk that he's not going to go down without a fight. And that's normal, that's natural, that's good. It's good that he's fighting, but nonetheless, this is an important position, and a guy that I'm really excited about on this offense is in fact Cole Spence. And here's what Clark Lea had to say about the tight end room in general, and we'll get to some more specific quotes here in just a second. He said about the tight ends, the position has been such an important part of our success beyond Eli, the way we play offense and what we want to do in the run game. We're certainly looking for big things from that room. And that this is probably the most, I call it Swiss Army knife, like a utility player, like a Swiss Army knife. If anybody understands that reference, like the Swiss Army knives that you used to get back in the day, they have like 20 different tools on them. They're very versatile items. This tight end room is going to have to be kind of that concept. And there's a bunch of different players in this room, a bunch of different types of players in this room that signify that, because you have Cole Spence, who's big, imposing, physical blocker, but a great receiving threat as well. And I think that role is going to increase throughout the season. You have Maurice Vinnie, who is 6'3", 270 pounds, just a big body, somebody that has really good feet for a massive frame. It's going to be great in the run game. It's kind of that extra third guy on the edge. That's going to come in very, very handy. And I could see some 12 personnel sets where you have Cole Spence and Maurice Vinnie in the game at the same time. Just think about how scary that is. Then you have your two offline guys, joker positions. I call it a joker. I don't know exactly what Clark Lea's terminology is for that, but I call it a joker position. It's the offline tight end. It's the hybrid. It's the whatever. That's Jayvontay Conner. That's Walt Taylor. And you have two freshmen who I think came in as a pair, Tilden Riley and Adam Jim. Those two guys are going to be the future of the position, and I'm very excited about their development throughout the course of the season. Hopefully, they don't have to play a ton. Hopefully, they play because we're in a position to where they can play and they can develop. So, and that's no shot at them. But the other guys, hopefully those other guys are healthy and making plays as well. And hopefully they make enough plays to where we're ahead in enough games that we can get some of these freshmen in. So nonetheless, this is an exciting group. This is a versatile group. This is probably one of the most versatile groups on the team because they can do so many different things, so many different ways. And you can have so many different personnel groupings within that. You could even go 13 personnel. You could go Spence, Conner, and Taylor. Drew a blank there for a second. I was trying to think of like the dream scenario. You could go those three guys, go 13 personnel. Down in the red zone, you'd be hell in the run game. And of course, you throw Walter Taylor, you split him out a little bit, run him on a fade to the back pylon. You could be hell in the red zone with that formation. So if Tim Beck, if you're listening, jot that one down. 13 personnel. Give me some of that in the red zone. I want some 13 personnel. I want to see some 13 personnel. Get me some Mo Vinnie, Cole Spence, and Jayvontay Conner down in the red zone. Give me 14 personnel. Hell, give me Taylor, Conner, Spence, and Vinnie. Maybe even 15 personnel. Or 5 personnel. It would be 5 personnel. Give me with the Wildcat with Seti, and then give me Gabe Fisher, give me Mo. No, I'm getting crazy, but nonetheless, this is an important position group, and this is a group that I'm very excited about because of the versatility that they're going to have. Think about this from a perspective of Jared Curtis, brand new quarterback. Let's say he wins the job. Blaze Berlowitz even, right? Let's say it's 3rd and 5. You're in Jordan-Hare Stadium. The crowd is roaring at you. It's a tie game, and you need a massive first down to get yourself in field goal range to at least come away with 3 points because you know the rocket launcher is going to convert a field goal. You have massive targets in Mo Vinnie. You have a even more massive target in Cole Spence. Then Walt Taylor's not tiny himself. He's a guy that can go get it on the edge. He's a guy that can make some contested catches over the middle and in some. He's a guy that can run some curl routes, some transcontinental routes, some deep crossers, and whatever. You have Jayvontay Conner, who at East Carolina was great running up the seam. He could be a matchup nightmare for somebody. So you have a lot of options. You have some versatility there, and so you have some guys that can make some plays. And for a young quarterback, that's comforting because you have not only are they big targets, but they're reliable in the things that they do. And then in the run game, they're going to block and they're going to do their thing there. And then sometimes if you have to have them in pass pro, you're going to be pretty solid there as well. So, this group could be the key that unlocks this offense in a very, very big way. But here, Cole Spence, he said, we know what he can be for us in so many ways. He's next up in that room as a featured playmaker. Just think about that. They're thinking of him as a playmaker. So that's already the conversations that are happening. We need him to be really good in line as well as a blocker. He's already that, so he can continue to improve there. He's going to have a huge role in getting that run game going through the tailback. He's such a steady member of the program. We're excited about him. Talking about Mo Vinnie now, he said Mo Vinnie would be the second. He's been limited with a hamstring. He's been really pleased. He's like 270-pound Y. He's going to be able to help us in line as well. I think he can do some things as a receiving threat as well. He had a few snaps. He's been battling some injuries. And Jayvontay Conner, they call him JC. He's a really good athlete. He played the position, and also he wears number 18. He's in that Twitter clip where he's going up and mossing a defender. He's catching a Jack Elliott pass in the back of the end zone during some one-on-ones at practice. That was an amazing clip. That was a phenomenal clip, actually. So just keep that in mind. That was something that's exciting with him. He's a chance to be a playmaker for us on the perimeter. Some consistency and finishes. Throw it, catch it, make it available play. I've been proud of how he's approached the spring. He started at Ole Miss, East Carolina, and now he's got 2 years with us. This is Clark Lea talking. There's been a foundational learning that he's to take on as part of this program. I see that coming on in him. By the time we're playing in the fall, I want him to feel like he has the ability to impact winning. And with his abilities, he can. With his ability to stretch the field, stretch the middle of the field, he can definitely impact winning. And also, Walt Taylor had a good day. JC and Walt are learning how to play physically in that offline position. Walter Taylor's been dealing with some consistency issues, just some growing pains. Nothing to be overly worried about. But the best thing is as he has some growing pains, he's also been making some plays, some big catches, some things in the red zone as well. So that's something that I think you can get excited about, knowing that, hey, he might make 5 mistakes, but he's going to make a big catch for you too. And hopefully those mistakes aren't backbreaking. But again, exciting room, lots of great options here. And then the 2 freshmen, Adam Jim and Tilden Riley, I think they're going to have trouble getting in first team work, but those guys are going to develop really well in this tight end room and within this offense. So I'm really excited about their future. So they just need to continue to get their reps as they can and get them on scout team and things like that. But you got 2 great offline guys. You got 2 great inline guys, and the inline guys are more of a threat, I think, and I think Cole Spence is more of a threat than he even was last year. I think the light bulb hit him in the LSU game. I think he realized his potential. I think the coaches realized his potential as a receiving threat. So you're going to see some of that as well. And you're going to see, just how many different pairings they can get in 12 personnel, because I know Tim Beck wants to be in 12 personnel. I want us to be in 12 personnel. With the wide receiver room as unpredictable as it is right now, 12 personnel might be the most predictable thing you've got as far as being able to predict success. That might be the best option you have right now. 12 personnel, 13 personnel. Let those other receivers, let Junior Sherrill, let Cole Adams rock and roll, let Ja'Cory Thomas as he figures it out. Once the light bulb comes on for him, 11 personnel you can throw in, but you got to stay in 12, I think, until you have some receivers that step up, as one say. But again, never would I think that the tight ends are an important group, but Cole Spence is a star. He certainly is going to be the star of this group. Jayvontay Conner is going to be right there. He's going to make some huge plays. Walter Taylor. I think that might, honestly, and I'll leave it at this, that might be the most underrated signing from the portal that Clark Lea had. That might be the one that no one expects anything from, like super deep sleeper, like Rip Van Winkle level sleeper, right? He was an add-on at the end of the portal cycle. He was a guy I was like, what? And now I think he's going to be called upon in certain situations to come in there and make some big catches, and he's only going to get better. So you want a little nugget? Walter Taylor. Pay attention to that name. All right. Talking about the run game, they're gonna have to lean heavily on it. Seti and MK, they're gonna be pivotal in that is big time playmakers as they try to carry this offense on their back along with the tight ends. I think this is going to be a run game tight end offense early on, and it could develop back into a more perimeter game as the quarterback gets more comfortable. So we'll talk about that plus more right here. It's Locked On Vandy. All right, Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who know the score, never tells the whole story. And I really want to shout out all the quarterbacks. I think they had an amazing scrimmage on Saturday. They're really starting to kind of take command of this and really make this competition, well, let's say it, a competition. Because at one point it was believed that Jared Curtis was going to come in and just run away with it. And he still very well could, but it's not going to happen by the end of spring. And these guys are making it tough. And they're pushing him, and he's pushing them. So it's been a great, healthy competition. All of them had really good days on Saturday in the scrimmage, so shout out to them. There's more to these players in the highlights, the early mornings, the late night runs, constantly showing up for their squad on and off the field. The all-new Mazda CX-5 moves the same way. It moves with more space to connect, a bold new design, and more intuitive technology, so you can stay connected to the road in every position that you play. The all-new Mazda CX-5, more to move every side of you. All right, Everydayer Club, get Locked On Vandy ad-free with the Everydayer Club, plus members-only Discord access. Join at lockedonvandy.supercast.com. The link is down here in the show notes. Unfortunately, you missed the promo code, so you cannot use promo code March moving forward. But you can still join. You can still get in all the action, but just make sure you go to the link down in the show notes to subscribe. Thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. Thank you for making Locked On number one at Locked On Vandy. If you want to follow along at home, make sure you like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Make sure you leave a comment, leave some feedback. With that, able to grow the show. So I appreciate you and thank you for listening. So talking about Vandy's offense for a little bit, because I think with the defense, I feel like it's just very short up right now. I just have that feeling like the defense is kind of rock solid. So I want to throw some, we got to talk about the offense because that's the most unsettled side of the ball right now. I think there's a lot of question marks. And when you have a lot of new faces, that's kind of normal. When you're trying to break in 4 new offensive linemen, 4 new starters, I should say, not necessarily new offensive linemen, but new starters. That's a difficult thing when you're trying to find a receiver to step up outside of Junior Sherrill and really Cole Adams. I think that can be kind of tough. It can be kind of up and down when you're splitting reps equally between 4 quarterbacks. Of course, there's not going to be any rhythm. There's not going to be any chemistry because you don't have a starter. You don't have somebody for the starters to lean on and then a second unit to gain chemistry with and all that. So you don't have that pecking order just yet. So the offense is going to be a little off, which is fine. And by being a little off doesn't necessarily signify a bad thing. It just signifies that they're working through some stuff. They're trying to build chemistry. This is the time that you make mistakes. Clark Lea said it himself. They look very far away from having to play a football game as far as being ready. And he said that's okay because they don't have to be until August, or until September. So we're good there. Anyway, one of the aspects he talked about with the tight ends, it was the end of this quote here. The way they play offense, what we want to do in the run game, we're certainly looking for big things from that room. What he went on to say earlier in his press conference on Saturday is that he wants to drive the run game through the tailbacks. He wants to do that more. He wants to make that more of a focus. Without Diego Pavia, you kind of have to because, Blaise Berlowitz, if he's the starter, yeah, he can run a little bit, but he's not Diego. Jared Curtis can run a little bit. He's not Diego, nor do you want him to be Diego. You want him standing back there and launching missiles to the sideline and over the middle. But that means one thing. That means you have to redefine your run game. It means you don't really have much of a quarterback run game. And maybe Walt Taylor can come in there as the Wildcat quarterback, kind of like Eli, and maybe you can develop some packages with him in the run game. I don't know if they are thinking about that or maybe getting that creative or if that's even an option. I don't know if that's even on the table. It's interesting to think about, but I don't know if it's an actual possibility. But nonetheless, you have to drive the run game through the tailback. And that's going to be an important factor because part of what made Vanderbilt's offense so explosive in the run game is you had Cedric Alexander to contend with, you had MK Young to contend with, and you had the threat of Diego Pavia. And, of course, you had a little bit of a threat with the jet sweep. Not much. The jet sweep at this level is just not – there's not a whole lot. It's not really – the juice is not really worth the squeeze in that regard. There's other ways to get some of your smaller, faster receivers like Caleb Barnett on the edge. Jet sweep may – it has some limited capabilities. But when you look at the run game now, it's going to be more of a conventional run game. There's not going to probably be a whole lot of option. Might be a little bit of zone read with Jared Curtis. He can do it. I don't know if they want to, but he can do it. But you're going to have to figure out ways, and the tight ends, to connect this back to the first segment, the tight ends are going to have to play a huge part in blocking in the run game, whether they're blocking the backside of zone, whether they're combining with the tackle on duo to create another double team at the point of attack, whether they are pulling in the counter, whether you have an offline guy that's pulling, whether you get some formations, whether you where you have Gabe Fisher in the game, where it's almost like 20 personnel or 21 personnel, where you're pulling the fullback and the tight end, or whether you get crazy, whether you arc those guys out on the perimeter for jet sweep, whatever you do, the tight ends are going to be important in that. And then Cedric Alexander has proven, MK Young has proven that they can be a home run hitter. They have proven that. Cedric Alexander proved that against Alabama, right? And it's against Alabama, where you have 5 stars everywhere. And he hightailed it 65 yards untouched for a touchdown. And I think had Diego not turned it over a couple of times in that game in crucial situations in the red zone, I think Vanderbilt walks out of there with a win. I really believe that. But those turnovers kill you, man. And you can't do that. And that's a lesson. I mean, Alabama, that's no excuse, but I think without those turnovers, we might be looking at a different game. Because I think Cedric Alexander, we had a good run game going. We had Alabama on their heels a little bit at times. And there was other times that Alabama completely stifled. They did a great job in the passing. That's how they won that game. I'm not going to recap that game, but they won that game with their passing game, and then they made big plays when it mattered most. And that's football. So, but you have to establish a run. MK Young was pivotal in beating LSU. He had several big chunk runs. I think against Missouri, you're able to get several chunk runs as well that open things up, and that opened things up for Diego Pavia. You had several chunk runs against Tennessee. Like, there was some things going in the run game for Cedric Alexander, for MK Young, that if you just look at the film, you just look at how they pop off. And we can do stat dives and we can do all that. Numbers don't tell the whole story, but we can do some stat dives later on. I got Mike Huseman coming on later on this week. He's the guy I like doing the stat dives with. So when you look at the run game, they're going to have to lean on it pretty heavily. And so I'm excited about the future of that. I'm excited about these two guys there. Before we switch gears into basketball, because we're quickly running out of time. Time flies when you have fun, right? Nikhil Jefferson, Darrell Campbell, 2 defensive linemen. Keep your ears and eyes on them. Those are 2 guys that I think throughout the season, I'll mark my words, they're going to make an impact on the season at some point. I don't know when, but at some point in a huge situation, one of those 2 guys is going to make a huge play that's pivotal in a game. Just keep that in mind. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to switch gears to basketball. Transfer portal opens up very, very soon. Some interesting things happening. How's Tyler Tanner going to affect that? Because I think that's a big factor in how Vanderbilt attacks this transfer portal. We'll talk about that next. All right. Locked on Vandy. FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. Here's what I like about it. You can bet just $5 to get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments. It just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. So just go to FanDuel.com now to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We are wrapping up here at Locked On Vandy if you want to follow along at home. Now, the basketball transfer portal opens up, and already for Vanderbilt, George Kimball has announced that he plans on entering the portal, which is a surprising move given the situation, but also this one smells like Mark Byington said, hey, George, it's just not going to work out for you here in Vanderbilt. You might want to get in the portal. That's what it smells like. That's what I think it is. That's what the rumblings are saying. That's what the tea leaves are saying. Whatever it is, whatever the saying is, that's the message. Also, the biggest question for Vanderbilt is this. With Tyler Tanner's decision looming, he hadn't made a decision yet, unless he made it and I hadn't seen it. Or unless he makes this as you're watching this, and he makes this, after I recorded this, but the Tyler Tanner decision as it looms on the horizon, how does that affect the transfer portal? How does Mark Byington attack? Because if Tyler Tanner leaves to go to the NBA, you don't want to be caught holding the bag. You don't want to be caught out there with all the good point guards in the portal going elsewhere. You need to get an answer. Also, if Tyler Tanner's coming back, which he's starting to kind of follow some portal entry guys on social media, so maybe that's another clue. The whole CAA, agency thing where he joined the NIL division, that's a clue, I think. Personally, I just think he needs to come back. Like, I don't think there's much of a decision here. I don't know that his body, with the way he plays, can hold up in an 82-game grueling season. I think one more year of seasoning, he might be able to. And still, I don't know. But what I do know is this. I think he'd be a back half first-round guy. I think he'd go to a contending team. But I don't know that he wants to go to the NBA to be a sixth man. If you're a lottery pick, you're probably playing right away, from what I gather from the NBA. I don't watch much of the NBA. I really don't. The Atlanta Hawks have been terrible for most of my lifetime. They had a blip of greatness with Dominique Wilkins. I was too young to enjoy it, really. But for Tyler Tanner's sake, I just think it's beneficial for him to come back. And if Mark Byington knows that, he's going to be able to attack this portal by saying, look, we've got a lottery pick at our point guard position. This guy's going to be a lottery pick next year, probably a high lottery pick. He's probably going to go to the freaking Wizards. I think the Wizards are good. I don't know who's bad anymore. Probably go to the Hawks. Actually, I don't know if I want him to go to the Hawks. I don't know who's bad in the NBA. I really don't. But just imagine the pitch that you can make to these recruits. Imagine what you can be able to tell them about Tyler Tanner and saying, look, we need size. We've got Tanner. As you can see, Chandler Bing developed throughout the course of the season. He was getting 0 minutes. And then by the end of the season, he was averaging double digits in minutes. And he had double-digit scoring outputs on several occasions. And he was a high-impact guy. A lot of his impact didn't show up on the scout on the stat sheet, right? You look at some other guys, and you look at this roster and the way it's built. There's got to be something to where you can point to and say, okay, we've got our core guys. We've got our core guys. This is how we're going to roll, right? You've got Mike James, who's a junior. You've got Chandler Bing. You've got Tyler Harris. Unfortunately, George Kimball could have been one of those guys, but he's not. You've got, unfortunately, Kierke and Jalen Washington, so there's some need for a big guy. You've got Jaden Leverett, who's a freshman, 6'11", 260. He's a guy you can build around. McLaughlin, he's a senior. He's going. That dude was a freaking he was a bull in a china shop. I loved him. And so you've got some things happening there with this roster. You've got some promising pieces. And I'm very excited about the future of this roster and of this lineup. So as the portal opens, as guys dive in, as you hear about guys that Vanderbilt's interested in, I'll talk about some of those speculative stuff. I'll talk about some portal guys, some portal targets. But as of right now, your main goal is, if you're Mark Byington, is you find out what your nucleus is and you build around it. Leverage your big guy, your man in the middle. He can create. There were some impactful moments that he had, not very many because he didn't play a whole lot, but there were some impactful moments. Chandler Bing had some impactful moments. You can build around that. Tyler Tanner, if he comes back, just think of the talent you can draw if he comes back. So that's the biggest key to the portal. What do they need? How do they attack it? Of course, they're going to need some presence inside. They're going to need some athletic big guys that can run the floor. They need a shooter. Tyler Nickel is gone, so they need a shooter. They need a shooter that's dynamic. They need a shooter that can put the ball on the floor and get to the cup when he's not making baskets from three-point land. I think for Tyler Nickel, as good of a shooter as he was, he could score occasionally, but that just really wasn't his game. And so you need that type of player. You need that sharpshooter that can also, if needed, it's the secondary portion of his game, but if needed, he can put the ball on the floor and get to the rack. So that's just something you need. And, of course, you need Tyler Tanner to come back. If you can get that, you get a pure shooter like a Tyler Nickel. You build around Bing. You get another big guy to replace Okirike in Washington. You get a couple of guys there. You got Leverett already in the middle. You've got some things you can work out. You have the makings of a really, really good basketball team. So I'm very excited about that. And guess who's in the portal? Here's a name to chew on. Jalen Carey is back in the portal. And that's interesting. That's going to be interesting. He's expected to enter the transfer portal, but that's going to be interesting. So think about that name and snicker a little bit. So that being said, I'm going to leave you right there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for making Locked On Vandy part of your day. As we roll on, spring practice, got 6 more opportunities to get us into the summer on a high note. So we'll talk about all of that. We'll talk about basketball transfer portal, of course, baseball as it goes, all of that and much, much more right here on the Locked On Vandy podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thank you for joining. Thank you for making Locked On Vandy part of your day. Until next time, anchor down. Peace.